I'm Kara Dingus-Brooke, the President and CEO here at the Foundation for Appalachian Ohio. This is our planned giving panel webinar, and you being here just demonstrates how much you care about our communities and about helping your clients achieve their dreams for the future of those communities. So we thank you for taking the time to be with us. Here with us, we have a number of advisors. We have members of the boards of the local affiliate foundations working with the Foundation for Appalachian Ohio. We have many who have established a fund at the foundation, as well as several from the FAO team. We just want to thank you all for this opportunity to learn together. And we especially thank our panelists for sharing their knowledge and passion and expertise this afternoon. Before we move into our spectacular spellbinding presentations, our Halloween theme here, we'd like to introduce you just quickly to the Foundation for Appalachian Ohio. Our mission is to create opportunities for the people of Appalachian Ohio by inspiring and supporting philanthropy in our communities. You can see here on our screen our values. Top of that list for us is love. Philanthropy is love of humanity, of humankind. And you can see the other things that are important to us: integrity, hope, gratitude, growth, transformation, inclusivity, and really a sense of legacy, which is where many of our partnerships with you as advisors come into full bloom. Our vision really, and what our foundation serves as, is a community of givers. And we're working to create an abundance of possibility in Appalachian Ohio. Many of you who have attended our meetings before know that there is a large philanthropy gap in Appalachian Ohio. We access 90% less philanthropic assets per capita in our part of the state than in the rest of the state. And in many ways, this philanthropy gap is FAO's why. We know that there are so many leaders with so much just transformative potential and wonderful ideas, and that too often a lack of philanthropic resources stands as a barrier. So working with you and working with your clients, we just are so grateful to be creating an abundance of opportunity and really helping ensure that people here in our region can achieve their full potential. Let's see, I wanted to share just briefly the 4 cornerstones of our strategy, and we don't have a lot of additional slides on the foundation, but really kind of 4 things we're working on. One is to develop a culture of philanthropy. And that is not to say that people in Appalachian Ohio aren't generous, because they absolutely are, but because we haven't had the same amount of wealth and much of the institutional wealth management that is built up in other places, and because much of our wealth was extracted, we haven't had the same levels of philanthropy and of endowments and of organized giving that the services you're providing to your clients. And so that's foremost for us. Advancing holistic and evidence-based approaches. And the reason for that is we're trying to advance sustained transformations. We really want to make a permanent difference in solving challenges at their roots. Investing in community leaders. I mean, we have a saying around here, we say money doesn't really fix problems. People are the ones who fix problems. And investing in leaders, from our youngest leaders in kindergarten all the way up to our more senior fellows that join us and supporting their transformative work. And then leveraging regional collaboration and economies of scale. We have the potential as 32 counties to work together to really increase our impact, drive down administrative costs, bring in new opportunities, go to market as a 32 county region. And so there's a number of ways that we're doing those. One of the most recent that I just was able to see in action again this week is our mobile vision clinic. We were finding that in all of our communities, there was a real struggle for screening children's eyes and getting them corrective lenses. Frequently, volunteer groups would help in the schools and working with school nurses, but there was a big breakdown when children would go home with a note and they didn't always come back with their eyeglasses. And so working regionally, we were able to raise funds and build a partnership to create a mobile vision clinic that travels to school and does the screenings there and comes back in 2 weeks and brings free eyeglasses. It's all reimbursed through Medicaid, so it's a sustainable solution. So those are just just a kind of one example of many. We gave 1,000 grants last year, you know, of the kinds of things that we can work with your clients to do. Oh, perfect, Tracy. So as you can see on the screen, here's a look at some of those grants. Here's a look at the growth in that grant making, thanks to the endowments and the legacy gifts that are being realized. And then, you know, I also wanted to mention, in terms of that holistic approach, that we work across 5 pillars. We call them the pillars of prosperity, because we know that children need opportunities in all of these areas. And I can just share as a mother, you know, how clearly I see that now. And I think about our community through the eyes of my children. So, you know, as you work with clients, they may have a passion in arts, or they may have a passion for environment or education or community development. And so we have initiatives in all of those areas, and we also can help them create initiatives. I think of one story of a donor. Her name was Hazel Cyphers, who left a bequest so that every child in Morgan County could get a wrapped Christmas present. Everyone that wasn't believed they would get one would receive that. So it's a very tailored kind of partnership that we can pursue with you and your clients. And usually within those 5 pillars, there's something that's close to everybody's heart. Also, we wanted to mention that we are the back office and the hub for 15 affiliate community foundations that are locally based. So there's and the African American Community Foundation, which serves across the entire Appalachian, Ohio region. So with us today, we're really excited. We have the founder of this pioneering model, which is incredible in the administrative benefits it provides to these communities. Meaning the greater impact from your donor dollars. And with us today is Mary Beth Wright. Mary Beth was a CPA at Ray & Associates for a good number of years. She was a board member for the foundation, and she's really the pioneer of this model of building a local community foundation off of the administrative platform of the Foundation for Appalachian Ohio. It started in Guernsey County. Today, they have more than 12 million in assets. They're giving 400 or 500,000 a year. I mean, they're just making such an impact. And we have worked with Guernsey County to learn from their experience and replicate that across 13 other communities and to the African American community in the region. So we can now say, after this last year, that every county in Appalachian, Ohio is served by a local community foundation. We're very excited about that and very grateful. And that is due in no small part to the work of Mary Beth. And so, Mary Beth, I would like to hand things over to you. So I will go on mute and just thank you again for your time and all that you've brought to us with your leadership.
Thanks, Kara. And it's great to be with all of you. And thank you for that introduction, Kara, on this beautiful fall day. The Guernsey County Foundation, for which I'm president, but there are 12 trustees that really have helped to drive this. You know, with the FAO's assistance, we've been able to reach over $12 million in assets across our family of funds. And the FAO match opportunity that we'll talk about later has really been instrumental in helping drive the increase of those funds. The other community foundations under the FAO's umbrella include the African American Community Fund, and then counties like Gallia, Guernsey, Harrison, Highland, Hawking, Jackson, Lawrence, Meigs, Monroe, Morgan, Noble, Perry, Vinton, and the community of Nelsonville all have funds now. I believe there were 3 new communities that added a new fund this year. So many of these communities have taken advantage of this match opportunity. And if you would like more information on that, please feel free to contact us to learn more. So I'm going to turn it over to Tracy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I am Tracy Mann, FAO's Director of Planned Giving. And I'm fortunate to work with Mary Beth and the rest of FAO's awesome development staff to provide services to professional advisors, fund representatives, donors, and more. And you can see in this slide that we can help from start to finish. making charitable giving an easy and rewarding experience. We welcome your calls and questions. Even just a simple 1 or 2 sentence by email is not a problem. We can get started with that. We can do the research. We can provide you options. And then you tell us, run with this option, we will. And then we can provide all of the language that you might need for the gift. And FAO also does provide free online legacy tools, including an online or printable estate planning guide, either one. And this is not meant to replace working with a professional advisor. This is a guide to help the process and to help you to know what to bring into your advisor. A planned gifts calculator, an advisor e-news sign up, and more. And I'll put the link in the chat box. And I appreciate each of you being here and all that you do to help develop a culture of understanding and comfort around the power of planned giving. And speaking of planned giving, let's move into our exciting panel session. I'd like to introduce Angie Anderson, FAO's newest member to the FAO team, and our Senior Director of Advancement, who will introduce us to our panelists.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you for putting this wonderful opportunity for us to all join together. Pleased to be at FAO and very excited to introduce to everyone our panelists today. First, we have Inez Bowie. She is a principal tax professional at Ray Associates in Marietta, Ohio. She has over 20 years of experience in the accounting industry and specializes in tax and estate planning, estate and trust tax compliance, and business and individual taxation. Inez is involved in a number of trade and charitable associations, and we're very excited to have her with us today. We were planning to have Heather Kazee with us, but she had an unexpected and conflict and is not able to join us, but she is also a wonderful asset to our team of panelists. Finally, I'd like to introduce Ron Vigue. Ron is an attorney serving Perry County community and beyond. He offers services in estate planning, wills and trusts, real estate, and probate matters. Ron has been a board member of many local organizations, including a hospice agency, a youth baseball organization, and an arts group, and recently the Junction City Revitalization Group. Welcome, Ron and Inez, and thank you so much for being with us. And Tracy will go from here.
Thank you. And I did want to mention, if you have questions as we go, you can feel free to put those in the chat. And towards the end, when we have our question and answer session, we'll be glad to answer those. And even if you have questions towards the end, we can follow up with those questions. We're more than happy to do that and excited about this passion that we've got. So for the first question, and this can be for both Inez and Ron, and you can just take turns in answering this. But so many times as we meet with advisors, especially in our region, they're very hesitant about how to start conversations about charitable giving with their clients. Would you mind sharing your approach?
Sure. I'll tell you, on my estate planning outline, toward the end of it, there's a question regarding, are you interested in talking about charitable giving? And unfortunately, by the time they get to the end, I think they're worn out. And I think I want to move that up closer to the beginning, because if they would see it in connection with their assets, I think they'd be more inclined to think about it. They get to the end and they think, oh, that was just like the last question, the organ donor. You want to take my organs and you want to take my money. So I don't want to do that.
It's because you're a panelist. Sorry.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so I try to circle back to it. It's usually good in the second meeting to circle back to it and just do a little self-disclosure and talk about the things that I care about, and then ask them what do they care about. And invariably, they will tell you that they've been involved in this group or that group, and they want to improve their community, and they do have some sort of a cause that they would like to contribute to if you could show them the way. So it starts the conversation, and I'm shameless too about mentioning people like Dolly Parton or Joe Burrow, and suggesting that you don't have to have the kind of money they have to help charitable organizations.
Great, thank you. Inez?
I think from a tax advisor perspective, we have the opportunity to see the client on an annual basis. And part of the tax process is knowing what their charitable contributions are for the year. And so that gives us an idea to be able to get some insight into what some of their charitable passions might be, what they're interested in, what kind of things they support. And sometimes they tend to get caught up in the most immediate cause that's, making the phone call, needing the money. And it's nice for us to, after the tax return's done, after we've gone through that process, to meet back up with the client and really delve into what some of their charitable inclinations are, and to look at their big picture with all of their assets to help decide if there's something more beneficial, an opportunity or a technique that might help them. And so I think we have a unique perspective in that we do see the client usually on an annual basis, not just an estate planning process or something of that nature.
That's so helpful. Thank you. Thank you to both of you. And again, I think sometimes advisors and even sometimes individuals are a little hesitant because they think it could be too complicated. What advice would you give them? And are there things donors should come with in advance of the conversation?
It doesn't have to be complicated, because it can be as simple as a pay on death account. It could be a smaller bank account that they've already taken care of their children, but they've got this one little bank account and they'd like to see that go somewhere local. And all they have to do is designate that as pay on death to that charity. And I like to reach out to them and get their tax ID number. And it doesn't have to be public, but it could be that simple. And there are other things that are simple.
And sorry.
That's okay. You probably have run into this, the qualified charitable distribution out of an IRA. That's pretty pretty straightforward, and you can tell them how that works.
It is very straightforward and it's very powerful, because from an income tax perspective, when you make those those qualified charitable distributions from your IRA, they're not picking that up into income. And so you're not itemizing those deductions. You don't have to worry about that. You just simply don't include it in income to begin with. And so anything that hinges on calculations based on the adjusted gross income is positively affected by that because you decrease that adjusted gross income. So that is a very simple technique that anybody over the age 70 and a half can use. I might just add that a lot of times the financial planner is also somebody that's involved on a regular basis with the clients. And so I like to think of it as a team approach where, you know, all of us are seeing different perspectives from the client as far as what their asset makeup is, what some of their goals and desires are. And as complicated as things might seem, when you put all the proper people together, then we can help make sense of what seems complicated to one, because we all bring something different to the table. And I think that's important. You have the ability to use community foundations, the attorneys with the legal background, and your accountants will be able to, you know, help walk through the tax effects of your charitable giving. And your financial planner can help determine, you know, what your overall charitable goals might look like in relation to what your other gifting would look like.
That's perfect. And just to note as well, one of the biggest ways that people contact us about plan giving is through a bequest, and it's often to a fund that's already housed at the foundation. And we have quick language that we can just email, but we're happy to help, you know, in various ways. But I do appreciate you noting, you know, how easy it can be and some of the easy ways that can happen. What have you faced some challenges that you as an advisor or donors have faced with charitable planned giving, and how did you overcome them? Just curious.
The brochure that you sent me helped a client quite a bit realize that your organization was very professional. It was in safe investments, and it gave her peace of mind that I couldn't give her. I could tell her that you're great people, but that only goes so far. And so for her to see that and have a sense that it was similar to the Columbus Foundation that she had experience with, made her more comfortable about doing her bequest. So it wasn't really too much of a challenge.
That's good to know.
I agree that, you know, when we have the opportunity to use a community foundation such as FAO, it makes the process a whole lot easier because you already have the structure in place, and it's pretty easy to bring the client in, show them the various different funds that you have, the different opportunities. You know, do they want to support the arts? Do they want to support education? What is their passion? And more than likely, you already have something similar that we can help them work with their makeup of assets and do some kind of a legacy gift that, you know, would go even beyond their lifetime.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And then Rana or Inez, I wanted to ask you, I know that there in 2025, the current estate tax structure is going to be changing. How can advisors, donors be prepared for that? And how is charitable giving impacted?
So yes, we, barring nothing else happening in Congress, 12/31/2025, the estate tax exemption, which is approximately $12 million, stops. And we revert back to the old estate and gift exemption amount, which is $5 million under the prior law, indexed for inflation. So we would be somewhere in the neighborhood of a $6 million estate and gift exemption amount. So that's a pretty big chunk of change. I mean, barring nothing else happen, it's cut in half on that day. So, you know, the high net worth individuals that may or may not be in an estate tax situation at $12 million might find themselves at a $6 million estate that now we have to also deal with estate planning and not just look at income tax aspects of that. And obviously, one of the things that we try to get our clients to do on a regular basis in those situations is do your annual gifting. Do your annual gifting to your family up to the $16,000 per beneficiary. Plus, you know, do your charitable gifting during your lifetime. Use one of the mechanisms that's available so that we can get some of those income tax savings to you now while we have higher tax brackets and your income might be, you know, more than it would be in retirement age. So it's really just trying to find ways to start whittling down the net value of your assets in the most productive way.
And just a quick question, Inez, on that. Will, when that change happens, will more people try to do a charitable strategy? Do you think charitable strategies will be more popular or less popular?
I believe they will be more popular because in that case, you know, they have a much smaller exemption amount. And so anything that's left to charity, you get a charitable deduction for, and it doesn't really come into play with that $6 million exemption. So for example, IRA and retirement accounts are things that have the biggest bang for their buck when you leave those at death to a charity, because one, you get the charitable deduction for it from your estate tax, but then the charity also never has to pay the income tax on that. Where if you leave that same asset to your family and gift something else to charity, they're going to be paying income tax on that. And so there's really a disconnect there. But yes, I look for charitable giving opportunities to be even more at the top of everybody's mind once we go to a lower exemption amount.
Thank you. It's really helpful to be prepared and to get this kind of knowledge, Inez. I appreciate it. And Ron, I wanted to ask you, you had attended our plan giving last year, and you sent me some great questions and recommendations last year. And one of them was, in terms of the estate plan, how do you help the client decide if it is better if a charitable gift comes out of a will, a trust, or other non-probate designation?
Well, that's a broad question in that you're saying, where should it come from, right? And it can come from anywhere, obviously. Some places are going to be a little better than others. And the important thing that Inez just mentioned about IRAs is so true. You know, when someone inherits bank accounts, for instance, from their parent, there's no real tax consequence there. There's no real tax hit. That's just a tax-free inheritance on that bank account. But alternatively, if they were to inherit an IRA, that IRA has been sitting tax deferred and making money for a long period of time. and they will have to pay some tax on that when they take it out. So if that IRA could go to a charity instead, and the children could inherit bank accounts, everybody would be a lot better off. So that's an example of, to me, it's a great question, but it's following the asset, kind of like, well, what are we talking about? What would you like to see go to a cause that you care about? And there are times when people will say, my children are inheriting $400,000 of other assets. I've got this one account that I'd like to go to a local community foundation. Well, that's great. That's great. They've already inherited plenty. Here's this other thing that's not so big, but it could be put to a good cause, put to a good use with a bequest. And I find that, you know, advisors like to call them gifts, but when you use the word bequest, clients kind of perk up and they say, yeah, bequest, I like that.
Yeah, and when we do presentations on planned giving or estate planning, as you first approach, I do sometimes think, oh, this is a subject that is a little bit, you put that off a little bit and you really don't want to talk about it. But we try to change that conversation to legacy planning. Really taking care of your life's work and your life's interests and things that you're passionate about, what messages, you would want to leave for these organizations. And it becomes a very positive experience. So I think on those lines of making it a little bit positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder, and this could be a question for both of you that you could take turns on. This probably is going to be our last question for today, and we will look at the see if there's anything in the Q&A. But do you have any experiences with your clients? You don't have to share names, where you had a charitable giving learning moment or a special moment or a best practice you would like to share?
So one that comes to mind for me is it wasn't a great learning experience, but nonetheless, I learned something from it. I had inherited or received a question from a client from another one of our offices that had made a contribution to a charitable lead trust. And as some of you may know, a charitable lead trust gives those funds to the charity up front with the idea that you're hopeful that the growth will outweigh the amount that you're giving to the charity. And hopefully there will be a little bit left at the end to also, give back to your family or to another heir. And they usually work very well. However, in this particular situation, it was when we had the recession in 2008, and the fund was not doing as well in the market. And so it became very apparent that the funds were going to run out and not be there or be available for the heirs. And so sometimes it just made me think that we really need to know our clients. We really need to make sure that the charitable intent is there and then direct them to understand that, this is a planning opportunity, but you never, sometimes the unexpected happens. There's a drop in the market or, we have COVID or, something like that that's out of our control and things don't perform as well. So we really need to make sure that their focus is on that charitable intent from the get-go, so there aren't any surprises in the end.
That's really good. Thank you.
I don't have any in particular. I wanted to jump back to your question, though. I'm looking at it here in black and white, and it says, would you rather it come out of a will, a trust, or a non-probate designation? And
Okay.
and so to address that more specifically, it could come out of any of those. It'd be just fine.
Great. And I know, Ron, when you and I worked together to help one of your clients make a planned gift to a nonprofit in Perry County, we were able to do that, if you remember, all by email. We might have had maybe just one or two conversations where we were making sure we were on the same page. And I was able to send you the language, and actually we were able to do that without, with you being the lead. We did not meet the donor, but we appreciated that opportunity to help you. And I hope that it was an easy process for you.
It was, and that's what I'm saying about some of these folks are of advanced age, and she didn't want to run down to Nelsonville, but she wanted to follow through on this. And so the language of your agreement, we reviewed that in detail, and that worked out just fine. I think you can also put your language in the trust for your successor trustee to carry it out. If the successor trustee 10, 20 years from now were to sign that agreement, if they have the trustee powers to do it, if I've worked that into the trust agreement, I think that'll work out fine for them to sign on the dotted line.
Wonderful.
I did want to make one comment on those, and it's been a while since I've been involved with this, so please, don't hesitate to correct me, Inez or Ron, but with the 401k or the IRA or even a life insurance policy, it's not an all or nothing. So you could name like the FAO to be, a 20% recipient of those directives, and your family members the rest. So just everybody kind of keep that in mind, because that might make some people nervous thinking that they're going to turn their whole IRA over to a charity, and their kids might not like that.
Very true.
Yeah, and we do pursue high ethical standards, and when working with our donors, most usually it is through a bequest that we take in a planned gift, and we know that those are revocable, so that the donor has some peace knowing that if things change in the future, that it can be changed. And of course, when it comes to the larger gifts, we always encourage them to check with their financial advisor or their accountant, their attorney, to make sure that this is a good situation for them and their family and for all of their goals. And we can even be a part of those conversations to help in any way. So I appreciate you bringing that forward, Inez, about the importance of making sure it's a good situation. And so I think if we, I don't know that we have any questions. If anyone has any questions, let me see if I've got any. We've had, is the qualified charitable distribution age 72 or age 70 and a half?
It is still age 70 and a half, even though you are not required to take RMDs now, the required minimum distributions, until you reach age 72. you can still do those qualified charitable distributions at 70.5. And so we have some folks that have been doing it since they, were allowed at 70.5, and they have no desire to change, even though they might not be 72 yet. They're still taking, even though it might not be required, they still find the benefit in taking that distribution and going ahead and giving that to the charity.
Something I just learned about those QCDs also is that you can't make one to a donor advised fund.
Correct.
And I did not know that. So I know you have some donor advised funds, but I don't know what kind of percentage that makes up in your overall portfolio at FAO.
And that's true. They can't put it in a donor advised fund, but there could be that there's a fund out there that supports the type of causes that they're interested in. And so maybe they're not advising directly where those dollars go, but it's a cause that is important to them. That might be an alternative.
And we do have those. We have alternatives to the donor advised. Sorry. Let's see. And then we'll put the legacy website in the chat again so that you can see that one more time. And the other question is if I don't have an advisor, where do I start? Do I need one?
I guess I would start with who does your tax return on a regular basis? Who holds your assets? Are they all in real estate, or do you have some kind of investment in a bank account somewhere? Somebody that you're seeing on a regular basis to help manage your assets. If not, then, reach out to a CPA or an attorney, or even somebody like the foundation, and you can help put the right team in place for them. You could reach out to folks in the area that would be willing to help them come up with a plan that makes sense for them. Everybody needs an estate plan. I don't want to take Ron's thunder here, but if COVID taught us nothing else, it's that we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And if you end up in a hospital somewhere on life support, who's taking care of your day-to-day assets, paying your bills, doing those kind of things. So if you don't have an estate plan of some sort in place, a will, even a simple will, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to an attorney and start that process.
And I know I've learned in this process that many of the professional advisors have large service areas. Apologize. So, it's even if you see, look up names and it could be a county or two over, or, 3, oftentimes they service people in those areas. And I know there are some donors that I've talked to didn't realize that, and you can ask those kinds of questions when you call, but I think sometimes they think they're restricted to their local area, and are sometimes hesitant for people to know their financial situation within their local community. So oftentimes professional advisors have a large service area.
Absolutely. I mean, Ray and Associates has, I believe, 15 offices throughout Ohio. And I help each and every one of those offices in some manner with the trust and estate, whether it be compliance or planning or whatever. with technology today, it's really easy to make those connections and to get help.
Well, this has been so wonderful. I can't tell you how much I have enjoyed this and how helpful I think this is going to be to have this recording and to be able to share it with others. And I think we have just a couple minutes that Sherry Simons, I think, might have something for us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sherry Simons, and I am FAO's Director of Outreach. I promise you that we don't have any tricks here, but we'd like to definitely end with a treat. And one thing we hear often is how helpful it is for people to have tangible examples of what donors can make happen. So I wanted to take just a minute to share just a few with you before we end our webinar today. Now, Kara already mentioned earlier, so you can just tell how excited we are about this, but FAO has developed a partnership with the Ohio Optometric Foundation and Vision to Learn to launch a mobile vision clinic for the children of Appalachia, Ohio. This program enables students in grades K through 12 to receive free eye exams and free glasses, receiving the needed glasses for the first time in most cases after they've had their exams. While it may take many years to expand this program fully, FAO has carefully planned with all of the partners involved for sustainability. And it's just really exciting. We know that within the next 3 years, over 10,000 students will be seen across 20 counties. They will receive a mobile vision clinic visit. And you can imagine just how life-changing this is going to be for students across our region. On a side note of that, the research and convening of all of this was made possible by an anonymous donor. So we just encourage you all, if you know someone who would really like to invest in life-changing programs, please encourage them to talk to us. FAO invests in community leaders in lots of different ways. Some examples would be grants to youth-led projects, scholarships and virtual leadership programs, Growing Home Fellowships, which again was also made possible by an anonymous donor, as well as local affiliate foundation capacity building and bright spot expanders. We're really excited about this Growing Home Fellowship that we just launched in July. This is a new program which really demonstrates our focus to retain as well as attract young community leaders in our region. We have applications currently, they are open. We will be awarding 120 fellowships. 60 of them will be to retain talented young people already in the region, and 60 will be to attract young people that maybe live outside of the region to come back and live within Appalachia. These fellowships will be a $32,000 stipend, and it's available to award to K through 12 leaders ages 18 to 35 throughout Appalachian, Ohio. FAO has also made it possible for counties and communities with no formal philanthropic entities like a community foundation to be able to do so. So we provide, I know you've heard it before, but we provide the back office support for 15 community funds, or what we like to call our affiliate foundations. The local partners accelerate the pace of change in their own communities and the region through collaboration, including identifying and scaling bright spots throughout the region. So this is one example that you're seeing right now, what we call Fill the Freezer. And the Fill the Freezer bright spot was developed in a scaled program for counties that we're going to be offering throughout Appalachia. The Community Foundation for Perry County launched this initiative in 2021. And during their county fair, Community Foundation for Perry County raised donations to cover the processing of hogs that were gifted. And then they were distributed, that sausage was distributed to every food bank in Perry County. This year alone in 2022, that equated to 7,500 pounds of sausage, and the retail value of that meat was over $33,000 donated back just to specific Perry County food pantries. It's just a wonderful program. Hocking County did that this year with their county fair, and had over 2,500 pounds of not only sausage, they also were awarded the grand champion steer this year. So they also have hamburger that will be distributed to the local Hocking County food pantry. So it's just a wonderful bright spot. So, and I think now I'm going to turn things back over to Miss Mary Beth Wright.
Oh, thank you, Sherry. Thanks everyone for joining today. Little Halloween humor, don't be spooked by what you heard today. As you heard from Inez and Ron, along with the assistance from the FAO team, we can make it as easy as possible to meet your philanthropic needs. We also would like your feedback on today's presentation, ideas for future webinars, and any questions that when you step away, you go, oh, I wish I would have asked that. Please reach out and we will get an answer for you. So everyone have a great rest of the day.